to our today's broadcast. Today we are going to present a program for the students of commerce. Course code ECO2 Block 2. So get ready to chat on effects of errors and their rectification on projects.
It means that there are errors in the books of account. These errors have to be detected and rectified before preparing the final accounts, for which we follow a set procedure. It is quite possible that in spite of our best efforts, all errors may not be detected immediately. But you know, the preparation of final accounts cannot be delayed indefinitely. Hence, by placing the difference to a suspense account, we tally the trial balance and proceed with the preparation of final accounts. The suspense account thus created is carried forward to the next accounting year. Later, when the remaining errors are detected and rectified, the suspense account will get closed.
Thus you will find that some errors may be rectified before preparing the final accounts, that is, during the year in which the errors took place, while some will be rectified after the final accounts have been prepared, that is, during the next accounting year. An important implication of the errors that remain undetected during the year in which they are committed and may possibly be rectified during the next accounting year is that they are likely to affect the profits of both the accounting years, that is, the year during which they are committed and the year during which they are rectified.
Let me explain it with the help of an example. Suppose 800 rupees spent on repairs of machinery during 1987 had been posted to the debit of repairs account twice, and this error could not be detected before preparing the final accounts of 1987. This would mean that the repairs had been charged to the profit and loss account of 1987 with 800 rupees in excess. This would reduce the profit of 1987 by 800 rupees. In such a situation, the profit of 1988 will also be affected if the error is detected and rectified in 1988. It is because while passing the rectifying entry in 1988, we shall credit the repairs account with 800 rupees, which will reduce the expenses on repairs, resulting in an increase in profit of 1988. Thus we find that the errors as well as the rectifying entries affect the profits.
Now try to understand whether all undetected errors affect the profits and whether the distortion in profits so caused can somehow be avoided. Right now we have Dr. Grover with us. He is a senior member of the faculty at the university. Let us ask him to clarify whether all errors affect the profits.
Well, first of all, we should know that the errors which have been detected and rectified during the year in which they were committed will have no effect on profits, provided such rectification is done before preparing the final account. Then some of the errors which remain undetected may not affect the profits if they do not involve a nominal account, that is, an item of expense or an item of income. For example, a credit purchase of goods from A is by mistake debited to A's personal account, which as per rules should have been credited to him. This mistake does not affect any item of expense or income and so does not affect the profits.
So you know, only such errors which relate to some nominal account, that is, an income or an expense, would affect the profits. But then the question arises, how do we decide whether the error has caused an increase or a decrease in the profits?
For this, we have to find out whether the error has led to an excess debit or a short debit. An excess credit or a short credit to the nominal account involved. If the error has led to an excess debit in an expense account, say salaries, it means we have overcharged an expense. This would lead to a decrease in profits. If, on the other hand, the error has led to a short debit in an expense account, it means we have undercharged an expense. This leads to an increase in profits. Similarly, an excess credit to an income account will lead to an increase in profits, while the short credit will reduce the profit.
So we know errors affect the profits. But what about the effect on profits when they are rectified? How do rectifying entries increase or decrease the profits of the year during which they are passed? We know that the effect of rectifying entries will be just the reverse of the effect of the errors on profits. It is because at the time of rectification, you credit the expense account which had been debited in excess at the time of the error, and debit it if the same was credited in excess at the time of the error. You know, when you credit an expense, it amounts to reducing the expenses, which leads to higher profits. And when you debit it, the expense is increased, and this reduces the profit. This applies to all rectifying entries. I think this will be further simplified with the help of a chart which Dr. Grover will present.
Yes, we can make a chart showing the effect of errors and their rectifying entries in different situations. It will read like this. Number 1. If it is an excess debit to a nominal account, the error reduces the profit and the rectifying entry increases the profit. 2. If it is a short debit to a nominal account, the error increases the profit and the rectifying entry reduces the profit. 3. If it is an excess credit to a nominal account, the error increases the profit and the rectifying entry reduces the profit. Finally, if it is a short credit to a nominal account, the error reduces the profit and the rectifying entry increases the profit.
Now that's clear. This analysis helps us to find out the exact nature of the effect on profits on account of errors as well as on account of the rectifying entries.
So we observed that just one error could cause distortion in the profits of the year in which it is committed and the year in which it is rectified. This means if some error always remain undetected at the time of preparing final accounts, it is quite possible that every year's profit may become incorrect, leading to the problem of the credibility of final accounts. But is there any method by which this distortion of profits resulting from the errors and their rectification can be avoided?
Well, there is no method by which the effect on profit of the year during which the error is committed can be avoided. The only thing we can do in this case is to try our utmost to unearth the errors before preparing the final accounts. But as for the effect on profits of the year during which the error is detected and rectified, there is certainly a way out.
So there is a way out by which we can know the actual profits of the current year. But what is that?
It's like this. While making the rectifying entry, we may not debit or credit the nominal account involved. Instead, we debit or credit a new account called Profit and Loss Adjustment Account. Let us look at the example of error where 800 rupees spent on repairs had been debited twice. This error was committed in 1987 and detected in 1988 when it is to be rectified. Normally, for its rectification, you will credit the repairs account, which would reduce the expenses and thus increase the profit of 1988. Instead of doing that, if we credit the amount to the profit and loss adjustment account and not to the repairs account, no reduction will be caused in expenses and thus the effect on profit can be avoided. Similar treatment can now be given to all rectification of errors which involve items of expenses and incomes.
Don't you think debiting or crediting the profit and loss adjustment account leads to certain balance in that account itself? And if the same is taken to profit and loss account of the year, will this not affect the profit?
Yes, it would if it were taken to the profit and loss account. But you should know that the balance of the profit and loss adjustment account is not taken to the profit and loss account. In fact, it is directly transferred to the capital account. Thus, the profit and loss account remains unaffected by the rectification of previous year's errors and shows the expenses and incomes related to the current year only.
Dr. Grover said the profit and loss adjustment account is transferred to the capital account directly. That'll be all right. But then why involve the profit and loss adjustment account at all? Why not debit or credit the capital account itself when rectifying entries are passed?
Yes, that can also be done. But it is better to avoid debiting or crediting the capital account in individual entries because the capital account should normally be debited and credited only with additions to or withdrawals of capital and nothing else.
I think one last point needs to be clarified. As mentioned in the beginning, that when all errors are rectified, the suspense account gets closed. But if in spite of all efforts, some errors remain undetected, even during later years, shall we then wait for an indefinite period and allow the suspense account to continue, Dr. Grover?
No. It is not considered desirable to continue with the suspense account for all times to come. In fact, when all possibilities of detecting the errors have been exhausted and the suspense account does not get closed, we may decide to write it off by transferring it to the profit and loss account. This must, however, be done in due consultation with the auditors who must be convinced of the genuineness of such step.
Thus, we have now been able to form a clear idea about the effect of errors on profits, the effect of rectifying entries on profits, and also the method of avoiding the effect of rectifying entries on the current year's profits with the help of profit and loss adjustment account. This certainly ensures that the profit of the current year remain unaffected by the errors occurred during previous years. We now hope that you will be able to understand Unit 9 of Block 2 better. Thank you.